This is the 443-meter-tall Empire State Building, one of the most recognizable skyscrapers of the 20th century. When it was finished in 1931, it became the tallest man-made structure in the world. Yet, if you stand it next to our last entries in this video, it seems pretty tiny by contrast. From a tower that has the largest clock on Earth to a building so mind-bogglingly tall it holds 7 world records, here is a 3D comparison of the tallest skyscrapers on the planet. To top things off, we will also feature 3 proposed skyscrapers over 1,000 meters tall that could claim that title in the near future. To start with, let's have a look at the famous Taipei 101, which is 508 meters tall. It might be the smallest on this list, but between 2004 and 2010, it was actually the tallest building in the world. Built to showcase the increasing wealth of Taiwan, it was given its name because it has a total of 101 levels. Uniquely, its design is based on what's considered the luckiest digit in Chinese culture, number 8. As a result, it has 8 of these main sections. To stop it from collapsing during one of Taiwan's periodic earthquakes, it has a device called a tuned mass damper in the upper part of the building. When the Taipei 101 sways during a seismic event, the resulting energy is absorbed by a gigantic suspended steel ball that moves in the opposite direction. This counteracts any movement in the structure and also makes it more stable. Next up, we have the Willis Tower, which has a little more elevation than the Taipei 101 at 527 meters. To make this clear, we rank these skyscrapers by their height to pinnacle, which is the distance from the ground floor to the highest point. According to an oft-repeated story, its unique design came about when Chief Structural Engineer Bruce Graham bunched some cigarettes in his hand, some higher than others, and then asked his colleague Fazlur Khan if it could be a stable design for a skyscraper. This iconic Chicago landmark was initially called the Sears Tower. You might know it by that name. This was because it was originally meant to be a huge apartment block for 10,000 employees working for the then booming department store chain Sears. But when their projected growth failed to materialize, the tower was instead converted into offices. In 2009, British firm Willis Group Holdings bought the rights to rename the much-loved tower, despite leasing only 3.5% of the available space. In response, over 100,000 Chicago residents signed various petitions to have the name changed back, but were ultimately unsuccessful. From Chicago to China, our third high achiever is the China Zun Tower in Beijing, also known as the CTF Tower, which is only 1 meter taller than the Willis Tower at 528 meters. It was commissioned by the Chinese state-owned investment company CTF as the tallest of 18 planned towers for the Beijing Central Business District. Its standout features have to be the flared bottom and top segments, which were influenced by the styles of traditional Chinese Zun vases. The shape is even more incredible considering that it's the only skyscraper of its height to exist in a magnitude 8 earthquake zone. As such, in the event that the earth shakes, it's held in place by sturdy steel plating set inside the main walls. Furthermore, extra strength is also provided by fixed steel support columns at the corners or ends of the wall, as well as the steel braces in its core. Standing at 530 meters, the Tianjin CTF Finance Center was constructed by another Chinese conglomerate, Chow Tai Fook. It also has structural features designed to withstand earthquakes, such as its 8 sloping mega columns, which increase the stiffness of its frame. This gives it a gently curving aerodynamic profile that also significantly helps against side winds. Finished in 2019, it's the main attraction of the multi-purpose Tianjin Economic Technological Development Area. But this striking symbol of Chinese wealth may well be the last of its kind to be built. In 2021, Chinese authorities restricted build height to a maximum of 500 meters in large cities such as Tianjin. It was passed in response to a noticeable decline in the safety and quality of skyscrapers. This was caused by developers being more concerned with making an architectural statement than a practical, useful building. Moving swiftly on to its older sister, the Guangzhou CTF Finance Center is also 530 meters tall. This imposing 112-story superstructure was opened in 2016 as the mainstay of a planned urban expansion of Guangzhou. Its below-ground levels interconnect with the rest of the city, doubling up as a retail space and public transport hub. The building itself is encased with white glazed terracotta, which frames each of its window panels to provide shade from the tropical sun. This traditional Chinese building material was chosen because it's not only self-cleaning and corrosion-resistant, but easily produced and shipped. It also takes far less energy to manufacture than aluminum, glass, or steel, for example. While materials are very important in the construction of a skyscraper, at scale, they're even crucial to entire economies and countries. For example, the United States is in a constant battle with China about them. As part of a broader strategy, the United States tightened tariffs on Mexican steel and aluminum imports. This was done to avoid Chinese companies shipping through Mexico. This overview that we're looking at from today's sponsor is based on over 60 articles Ground News found covering this topic. Ground News gathers related articles from around the world into one place and gives you context about the sources, including political leanings, factuality, and even who owns them. Here, for example, the left uses this topic to critique former President Donald Trump for not doing enough to prevent this tax evasion, while the right lacks details about the reasons behind tightening the tariffs in the first place. They even have a blind spot page where you can find news stories that have little to no coverage from one side of the political spectrum. This level of insight is why we've partnered with Ground News for the long term. We love it as a tool to stay up to date and form an independent opinion. Subscribers fund Ground News, and they intentionally don't rely on ads to remain as objective and reliable as possible. By going to ground.news/megabuilds or clicking the link in the description, you can get a massive 40% off their Vantage subscription, the same plan that we use, or you can try it for less than $1 this month. Give it a try, and thanks to Ground News for sponsoring this video. Next up, we have the One World Trade Center in New York, which has a height to tip of 546.2 meters. As a replacement for the Twin Towers, it has an architectural height that equates to 1,776 feet, which commemorates the year that the American Declaration of Independence was signed. Fitting with its patriotic theme, the square base and tapered design is meant to reference the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., and in planning stages it was originally going to be called the Freedom Tower. Kind of interestingly, pre-existing commuter trains that passed underneath the tower's area were still allowed to operate while it was being assembled. To avoid interference with these trains, the 4 subterranean levels had to snake their way over and between the metro lines. It just goes to show you that making a skyscraper is not so simple, which is something the team behind the 123-floor Lotte World Tower in Seoul, South Korea know all too well. It took a whopping 15 years just to get planning permission for this 555-meter-high mega project. It was commissioned by multinational corporation Lotte as a residential and office space. The long delay was caused by Korean Air Force officials. They were worried about their military planes taking off and touching down at Seongnam Air Base. The airport is less than 6 kilometers south of the building, and they feared that a military plane could potentially crash into it. In the end, the issue was resolved when Lotte agreed to pay for a redesign of the runways. They moved the direction of a runway at the airbase by a 3-degree angle, and it seems like that was enough to fix the issue. Measuring in at an immense 599 meters, the Ping An Finance Center in Shenzhen was also once considered a danger to passing airplanes. This was because it was originally meant to have been crowned by a spire that would have upped its height to a lofty 660 meters. This was eventually scrapped though because of concerns from local aviation authorities that it would restrict the range of potential flight paths in and out of nearby Shenzhen Airport. But even without the spire, the Ping An Finance Company headquarters is so large that it can even be seen from certain places in Hong Kong to the south, such as Lantau Island. Most notably, at the front, it has the biggest stainless steel facade in the world, which is comprised of 1,700 tons of stainless steel. This material protects it from the corrosion caused by Shenzhen's salty coastal atmosphere. Now let's kick it up a notch and look at our first mega-tall skyscraper. Situated in Saudi Arabia, the Abraj Al Bait clock tower is a gigantic 601 meters tall. It's the biggest of 7 luxury skyscraper hotels and residences constructed for Muslims visiting Mecca. Controversially, it was built on the 220-year-old Ottoman-era Al-Ajyad fortress, which was demolished in 2002. In turn, this caused Turkey to accuse the Saudis of trying to destroy their heritage. These disputes aside, it holds the world record for having both the highest and largest clock on the Earth. At night, this solar-powered timekeeper is illuminated in green and white by 1 million LED lights. It's also tipped by a golden crescent made of carbon fiber that weighs an astounding 35 metric tons. But of course, our journey to the world's tallest skyscraper doesn't end here. We go even higher with the astonishing 632-meter Shanghai Tower. This glass colossus was planned as far back as 1990, following a government initiative to transform an underdeveloped industrial zone into a world-leading financial center. Located in the prestigious Lujiazui business district, it's perched on a 6-meter-deep concrete platform that was created by continuously pouring concrete for 60 hours straight. When it first opened to the public in 2016, the Shanghai Tower was proclaimed as a place where tens of thousands of people would soon work. However, this took a lot longer than expected, as by mid-2017, only 60% of its office space had been leased, and only 33% had actually moved in. On top of that, large parts of the floor area weren't usable, since the remaining area accommodates the tower's glass skin. Potential renters were also put off by the fact that it took 2.5 years for a fire safety certificate to be issued. In the meantime, however, occupancy has grown to around 80%. After opening its doors in January 2024, the Merdeka 118 in Kuala Lumpur is the youngest on our list and the focal point of the Malaysian capital's expanding skyline. The spire of this 679-meter-high Southeast Asian titan is nearly a quarter of its height. This is because it symbolizes the outstretched hand gesture made by the nation's first president when he proclaimed independence in 1957. Its multifaceted diamond shape also takes direct inspiration from traditional Malaysian songket patterns. Amazingly, in order to meet the build height, a unique type of high-performance concrete had to be invented for the tower's core. Most crucially, it was developed with a high degree of elasticity to counteract high-altitude side winds. Despite its obvious cultural and historic significance, this $1.5 billion project has been heavily criticized by many Malaysians, who think that money would have been better spent on improving infrastructure and eradicating poverty. Before we get to the tallest skyscraper in the world, if you're enjoying this video so far, why not subscribe? It helps us create more videos like this one in the future, so thanks a lot in advance for all of your support. Now for the big one. Dwarfing all others at 828 meters tall, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai is the tallest building ever. This is just one of its impressive 7 world records. It was erected in response to the United Arab Emirates' desire to increase tourism so their economy would be less dependent on oil. The Burj Khalifa was only made possible thanks to the boundary-pushing concept of a buttressed core. This involves a tripod-shaped structure that has a strong hexagonal central core supporting 3 wings. Because each of the wings is structurally supported by the other 2, it's inherently stable. As it spirals up, every 7 floors a slightly smaller tripod is stacked on top of the previous one. The Burj Khalifa is certainly one of mankind's most impressive architectural achievements. But if the next 3 challengers are anything to go by, it may have to give up its title as the tallest building in the world in the near future. Enter the Oblisco Capitale, a concept skyscraper that, if built, will soar to the monumental height of 1,000 meters. In case you haven't heard, Egypt wants it to be the centerpiece of a new government district east of Cairo, called the New Administrative Capital. Catchy name, right? The design of this beast, which is expected to have over 200 floors, will imitate the stone obelisks left behind by the ancient Egyptian pharaohs. It'll also be installed with a type of architectural blind called a louve, which will rotate in accordance with the angle of the sun to reduce heat. While announced in 2018, as of June 2024, the construction phase still hasn't begun on the Oblisco Capitale, which still remains in the planning stage. This can't be said, however, of the Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia, which supposedly resumed construction last year and may beat the Oblisco Capitale to become the first 1,000-meter skyscraper. Work on this desert giant actually started back in 2013, only to be paused for 5 years beginning in 2018 because of an anti-corruption purge initiated by the Saudi crown prince. One of the people arrested was Bakr bin Laden, stepbrother to the notorious terrorist Osama bin Laden and president of the project's then primary contractor, the Bin Laden Group. Al-Walid bin Talal, the project's main investor, was also imprisoned in a luxury hotel before eventually being released. So far, about 1/3 of the Jeddah Tower structure has already been constructed. If everything goes to plan, it's hoped that it'll be done and dusted in the next 4 to 5 years. This might actually be a realistic time frame, following the recent news from July of this year that a group of Saudi companies have agreed to fund the project. Although it isn't confirmed, as of April 2024, it is thought that there will be a replacement for the main contractor. In light of these developments, humans may well be looking up at the first ever 1-kilometer skyscraper much sooner than originally thought. Apparently though, that's still not high enough for the Saudis, who have recently expressed serious interest in the creation of a dimension-bending 2-kilometer tower that will be called the Rise. Just to note, the 3D model you see here isn't the exact version they plan on building. It'll be the star of the North Pole project, a mostly solar-powered, sustainable megacity that will extend over much of northern Riyadh. Dubbed the City of the Future, this metropolis will feature sci-fi air taxis and autonomous cars alongside integrated natural spaces and green technology. In 2023, the world's finest architectural minds put forward their ideas in response to a design competition that had a hefty $1 million entry fee. It's one heck of a cover charge. In March 2024, it was announced that British firm Foster & Partner had won. Although no blueprints or build dates have been released yet, it's rumored that the Rise will have an unrivaled 678 floors, and that it'll cost approximately $5 billion. Do you think it's even possible to construct a 2-kilometer tall tower? And what do you think is the most interesting feature of all the skyscrapers we mentioned today? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next video.